Hi everyone, name's David Liu. One of the things I'd like to talk about today is the choice of camera system that I've been on. Recently, because of the whole pandemic lockdown thing, I've really started getting more into video narrative pieces, some kind of product and tutorial-esque style video work. And one of the things that I had to do is actually migrate from a completely photo setup. I was mostly a DSLR with maybe some action cameras, now migrating towards a system that can actually shoot hybrid, so both photo and video. And that really came to an interesting point because, I was already on the Nikon system. I'd previously also worked in the Canon system. I really had this choice of which system to go with. And one of the challenges that I had is like cameras today, there's just so many choices and lots of great camera systems, with some of the camera bodies now outpacing some of the lenses, and the different companies essentially having better lenses and the other one has better bodies. And then like the choices become really, really difficult. I think with with the particular system that I've chosen, which is the Nikon Z system, there was just a lot of I definitely got a lot of interesting looks from my friends because, a lot of them are really pushing either the Canon or the Sony systems. But, I think for my particular use versus their use, it's a little bit different. For a lot of what they do, a lot of their shoots are handheld. They're in front of them. They need the reversed screen. I think the type of work that I've really transitioned into, which is either pure photography work where I'm, just taking photos of things with from a more traditional photography background, or I'm shooting on a tripod with a screen with extensive lighting, like what, just like I have kind of medium lighting and medium sound going on right now. And these type of changes now necessitate I have choices in the different system. I could literally go with any of the three systems. I guess both from a cost perspective and from a future, where the company is going perspective. One of the things I was looking at was in the combination of both lens and body, which company was going the direction I wanted. And ironically, that was Nikon. So, I've chosen the Nikon Z platform. I'm on a Z6 shooting right now. I'm going to flash up a photo real quick of what my rig looks like. And so, if you look at my rig, I have the shoulder mount setup that's mounted to a tripod. It has a V-mount battery, so everything's running off of a single battery. I'm using an Atomos recorder. I'm recording in ProRes RAW. And I have a follow focus. So, the types of use case that I'm shooting with, or at least transformed into when I'm shooting with, is very different from just like the strict handheld system that a lot of my friends are doing, which I'll tell you what, if I was having to shoot on the go, very mobile, like the Sony would be a great system for that particular use case. But because I have these cases where I need it to sit here and shoot, or I need to do like product stuff, then I have to think about, what about lens selection? What lenses do I already have? Price, performance, where is the lens platform going to go? I think one of the interesting pieces about digging into the Z mount, so, obviously I have the Z mount here. This is a 14-30. And what's really cool about this lens is, one, you can put a filter on it, but two, it's extremely light and very small. And yes, it might be an f4, but there's a reason it's f4. For most video work, if you are mounted on one of these shoulder rigs, it's kind of hard to really go shallower than f4 because your movement's going to actually make stuff go out of focus. So typically f4 is a relatively good idea, and then it shrinks the size of the lens. The next piece, on a gimbal. Now, if the lens is light enough, it can go on a gimbal. So there's a lot of options. So keeping the camera weight down and having the largest flange mount is extremely important when it comes to lens design. And I think one of the things that I've always been taught, at least by my mentors, is really the glass is king, and that mount is right next to the glass. So when you're looking at systems, you can always retrofit glass to other glass. But the ones that's, the native glass is what you have to care about. I'm really interested to see what they want to bring into the mix. There's a lot of rumors about which cameras Nikon is testing right now. And that to me is exciting because if you look at the similarities between the Z mount and some of the big cinema mounts, they're quite similar. So, for me, I kind of see Nikon, they put out this hybrid camera and everybody wants it to be kind of this creator's camera, which, there's a lot of cameras in this particular sector, but Nikon went a slightly different direction. And I suspect it's because I see them going full cinema. And that's where I really see the Z mount going. Now, when we talk about lens mounts, I think another point of distinction is one of the reasons you really care about that mount is the ability to mount other types of glass. So obviously everybody talks about the F to Z adapter, which, allows you to mount F mount glass, which I do have some of my old stock F mount glass. So this is my 70 to 200 that I still have. I think I still have a 105 macro lens, which is right here. And both of them use the F to Z mount. Now, what gets even more interesting is you say, well, okay, fine, that's a Nikon to Nikon example. Well, so I'm borrowing this lens. This is my buddy's, I think this is a Sigma Art 50-1.4 Canon EF. Canon EF to Z mount adapter with full control of autofocus and everything, metering, all of it. So it really, if you look at a lot of the cinema cameras, it's just a wash with different types of adapter mounts. And the reason for that is really glass is king. And that's why you really have to look at the direction of the company and what they're doing to see, which one you want for that native series. And when I look at the Nikon brand, I guess one of the things that I'm trying to analyze is what things can I get away with now and what things will I have to kind of augment to make up space for. So, right now, obviously, I'm recording on an Atomos monitor, so, I'm not doing this in body. Now, there's this ironic advantage to this, which is that I can see myself on this monitor that's actually just offline, which you might see my eyes constantly glancing towards it to make sure I'm, not walking out of frame or something. But, the advantage there is I don't need two card slots. Now, Nikon has responded with the Z6 and Z7 II that give you the second card slot. But again, ironically, not my use case. Now, if I'm on location, say I'm out on a rock wall shooting, a climbing documentary, then maybe having that second card slot, because I don't have the Atomos monitor out there with me, would be useful. Again, this is all based upon use case, and I think this is one of the elements that people don't really see. The other point of why I really like the Z platform is the types of camera bodies that are available and the sizes that they're in, and the price point means that I can have two cameras instead of the cost of some of the other platform competitors that are in that space. So one of the challenges is having then, either you need a second shooter, but in this case, you can have like a camera on a slider and have an A and a B camera. And I think the Z6 II is an incredible price point for what it is compared to some of the other cameras on the market, because then you can actually get two of them and shoot an A and a B side for interviews, or, if I had a second one here, I could have it sliding and capturing the other side of this particular shot. So having two camera bodies and having them priced correctly is an interesting use case. I think right now the weakest part of the Z platform, right, is time, right? They, obviously they've come out with this during the middle of the pandemic. Lots of manufacturing is backed up, getting the lenses out there. But I think for what the system has today, it's a good showing for where they're going to go in the future. And I guess for me, I'm looking at cameras based upon their use case. If I start doing more of the other type of work, I might look at another manufacturer's camera. But again, I'm still looking at, I want to keep on using these lenses. So I'm just looking to look for a bunch of adapters to mount the Z lenses or whatever I have left to those bodies. And I think it's that versatility that you have to consider when you are shooting in a lot of different formats, in a lot of different spaces. If you have both interview, documentary style, then you need action cam. Where are all these video sources going to come from? what's your main rig going to be, and how much do you really care about certain features, and what are you willing to trade off for them for the price. And those are the types of things that I really like people to think about when I chat with them, and when they come up to me and ask about what camera should I buy. And I say, well, what's your use case, right? I never ask what's your favorite brand. What's this? It's like, what's your use case? And maybe it's one brand over another brand because of the use case. And I think for me, one of the things I've had to describe is why my use case is kind of weird, but that's why I picked this platform, is because I have kind of these weird spaces that I have to cover. And this is the one camera platform that can cover those particular spaces. On that note, right, really going into why the Z mount is interesting is the fact that I see, you could just look at all the features they're really aiming at. You can see they're clearly aiming for the cinema camera platform. Now, obviously both Canon and Sony have been in that space a lot longer than Nikon, and I think that's what I want to watch. I think we do have to give some time to see what really materializes. But with the recent launch of the 1424, they have the 51.2s, the one that's on my Christmas list. It's really interesting to see what lenses are going to start to come from that. We've already seen the Noct, which is absurd. I've only seen one in my lifetime, but that lens is absurd. Like, it's amazing. I can't wait to see what they can come up with. And somebody, that has this idea of cinema-esque shooting will really focus on other parts of camera systems that I think hybrid shooters or, YouTube style shooters will be doing. And it's not the same than everybody else. That's why I said your camera choice depends on your use case. There's no right or wrong answer. You have to know your use case for which camera you're using. And so, I'll explain kind of the methodology behind what helped me choose this particular platform. Obviously I'd done my homework on the types of video that this system could produce, the fact that it supported ProRes RAW. Now it's gonna the Z6 II. It's gonna support Blackmagic RAW, which is great because I'm now moving to the DaVinci style Blackmagic system for my actual workflow in post. So relatively useful for me as they move towards that, adding those features later into next year. When it comes to designing kind of the look of the films that I want to make, or the commercial shot that I want to do, or the interview that I want to have, looking at the features of what it can do for me, and then looking at price points. So everything's based upon price value. Does it hit what you need for the money? Because if it's too much money, you put the money into something else. Maybe you buy more glass, or you do better lighting, you improve your audio. I have a boom above me that's collecting audio into, and all of those things are part of your budget. And then you have to spend your budget wisely for the camera system, the look and feel of the work that you're going to produce, or who your client is probably a better way of looking at it. And ultimately, what you're comfortable shooting with day in and day out. You have to be familiar with it, and you have to know its ins and outs. Obviously, I think people give Nikon's autofocus a bad rap. Ironically, if you look at my use case on my rig, I might use autofocus once or twice, and then everything's follow focus. But again, that's use case. I'm shoulder mounted with a follow focus. I'm mounted statically, and it's autofocusing on me, no real stuff behind me. Typically, the classic way that we would always do that is just either you clamp down, or where your subject is going to be, and you do the calculation of where the action's going to be, and you get the depth of field right, or you just go for a wider lens, and that you don't really have to worry about focus at certain points. So this is why, one of my favorite filming lenses, at least for documentary, is the 14-30 itself. The 14-30 f4 is fantastic. It's light. I don't really have to worry about its focus as badly as maybe, like a 2.8 version of a lens that I used to have an f mount. I think running through all of these types of scenarios helped me determine the system that I ultimately wanted to purchase and look at. And then it comes down to weight, features, everything else. Really, you have to look at, are you okay living with it day in and day out for the price point? And for me, that's, you know, I chose that system and I said, you know, how fast can I get work done? Does it fit all kind of the Venn diagram things that I need? Okay, let's go with it. Now moving on to where I think they can really go towards is really pushing the limits of cinema, right? You know, obviously they don't have a full cinema camera out, but you know, the writing's on the wall. Like, they have these amazing lenses with the mount, and it's just up to them to implement the rest of the features and and create maybe a cinema focused body that can deliver on that performance. I think that's an interesting space because, you know, you have Arri in that space. Obviously, you have Canon in that space. You have Sony in that space. You have a lot of, you have Red in that space, right? There's a lot of camera systems in that space. And I mean, it's a great time to be a content creator. We have a lot of choices today, and that is amazing for being able to just produce content and have choices of how we produce that content, have systems that can work with each other. I can shoot with multiple cameras, and because of the, you know, the raw capabilities, I can try to, you know, within the limits of the said color science, try to match them to the point where they all look the same and take the strengths of each camera system and combine them together. I remember being on a shoot recently where we actually had all three manufacturers, and we kind of made an interim LUT that would translate between all three, such that when we brought all of that stuff into post, we all roughly look the same. Having Nikon in this space is a welcome addition, and for the people like me who grew up on like the Nikon and Canon kind of rivalry, it's fantastic because now we're all in that particular space where we have cameras that are hybrid and that are starting to go into cinema, you know. And I see as a natural evolution as both the technology and the media styles that we're consuming today are starting to change. Our tastes are starting to change about, you know, what do we consider our way of learning, of intaking information and news and I guess tutorials in cinema, whatever else is shown today on YouTube. All of that is becoming a higher focus, and with these camera systems, we're now able to produce that at a much higher quality, and I think that's fantastic. Kudos to all these manufacturers for actually listening to us. I'll have to say, you know, like, we've asked Nikon to do something and they did it, right? We asked, you know, Sony to do something, they did it. We asked Canon to do something and they accomplish it. I mean, back in the day when I was shooting, you'd kind of say it to you know, into the ether, and then it never happened. So one of the big advantages of having sites like YouTube and platforms like Twitter is we can directly speak with the manufacturer and say, can you tell me why this feature, you know, why you don't have this feature? Is this implementable in firmware? I need help with this. And it's amazing to see what actually happens. They'll reach out to these people or help, you know, test a new feature, or send them, you know, a replacement part, or work with them to solve a problem, or implement a new capability into a camera. I think that's fantastic, and that wasn't something available wasn't as easy when I was shooting professionally. So again, with today's technology and with where we're going in terms of media consumption, this is a fantastic option for us. And I think Nikon's platform is a great sign of what's to come. Seeing a company that's traditionally been all photo now move to video and getting serious about it and placing their bet in a particular space, it's a statement, right? It's a statement of saying, we're serious and we're going to go this way, and we're not going to really, you know, we're going to place our bets right here, and be confident about it is pretty hard. So kudos to Nikon for making that decision. And I'm really excited to see what they're going to come up with next. So until next time, I'll see you guys later, and keep on shooting photos and videos, guys.